Hey, hi, this is Team 13 for the final project, and my name is Jay and Lee. We have members like Chikezi, Dylan, Bo, and Daniel. So this project creates data sets analyzing household income in DC and the nearby cities to prevent redevelopment in low-income areas. So the team retrieves the data from government websites, cleans and matches column, and includes the data like medium income, state name, county, total household, like total population and the poverty levels. And for the method, the code merges multiple DSV files in demographic data, cleans and renames columns, and generates scatter plots to visualize relationships between poverty, income, and rent. It calculates a percentage of poverty and affordable housing demand and identifies the area to avoid building, and also highlights top cities with the highest demand for affordable housing. Okay, chicken.
Okay, so for the pre-processing steps, first we had to just import the packages that we needed. At the same time, we got the data sets that we needed to merge. And from merging the data sets that we needed, we used 4 to 5 data sets. So from what you can see the data sets that we use. So we use the population, the poverty status, the housing cost, the household income, and so on, and the data shape and the data DC shapefile to get the shapefile to create the heat map. So what we did, we had to merge data sets based on the geo ID. So we merged those data sets so we could get the population in comparison to the poverty status. So after that, after merging the data sets, we had to remove the duplicate data sets from the merged data set that we had. At the same time, we had to make the data sets all equal in terms of the data types so we could easily manipulate the different values in the columns. So for what we needed, we had like from the government website, we had the different code that corresponded to different types of data that we needed. So we had for example, BO101001 signified the total population for the DC area, and so on. Given that, we then found calculations to get the poverty status in comparison to total population. At the same time, we compared extreme poverty, which was a combination of poverty levels and the rent, people who pay rent above 50%. At the same time, we also got like more important data sets by combining the poverty status and people who pay more than 30% in rent, which gave us different data sets. At the same time, we found selected data sets, which are places where poverty levels are above 40%, which are very critical areas to avoid in building. At the same time, we got the top 5 highest cities that need affordable housing based on the rent and the people who occupy those places with rent. Given that, so we got the filtered data, which was just collecting data sets. So collecting the cities with the highest poverty levels. So from the results, we got visualizations based on the poverty levels and the medium incomes. What we notice is that the lower the income is, the higher the poverty status is. So there's a positive correlation between people who make less money and the poverty levels in those certain areas in DC. So you can see those data sets over here with also a heat map to show it. At the same time, we also created a heat map using the DC shapefile, which got the shape of the DC area. So what it shows is that in the south side of DC, that those are the areas where poverty is highest and we should avoid building. And you can see it in both places, so south side.
All right. So basically our goal for our project was to do the analysis on revealing areas where buildings should be avoided due to high levels of poverty and unaffordable rent. The information that we develop potentially can guide policymakers, stakeholders, to be able to make more informed decisions about where they want to, focus their redevelopment efforts and, to be able to prioritize affordable housing, goals and initiatives, so our code, we were able to use that to be able to identify specific areas that, using the heat map, to be able to find specific areas that where in need that could be renovated and could be worked on, and then areas that should not be. And a big differentiator on that was, rent. How much percentage of their rent they were using for to pay for how much percentage of their income they were using for rent, and also the poverty levels as well for that area. So like I said, our information could be used to prioritize efforts, to ensure that those low income households have access to safe and affordable housing. By targeting specific areas, we can really be able to help out, with living conditions for low income families, and then our analysis kind of showed a negative relationship between the median income and the poverty levels, and then also a positive relationship between poverty levels and then rent affordability. So that shows that the areas with high poverty rates, tend to have lower median income and higher rent burdens. So that's pretty much it.
So for our limitations, obviously, this only applied for a few years from DC's government data. And then, as we all know, that poverty has a lot of factor in there, like education, demographics, all sorts of things, occupations. So, and the other thing we have is there are some data that were missing when we were trying to point the CSV files. There are a fair amount of data that were missing, and we had to cut it out. So that's another limitation. So in our geo map, there are one or two blank spots, as you can see. The last thing is DC is quite a compact city, so the data we gather might not be that accurate because it covers a really high density in the cities, and it might not be accurately represent what exactly is happening in DC.
All right, so moving forward with our conclusion and findings, our analysis of household income in the DC area and nearby cities highlighted the importance of considering poverty levels, median income, and rent affordability when making specific decisions related to any redevelopment. The negative and positive relationship between median income and poverty levels emphasized the fact that we needed to prioritize affordable housing and avoid construction in these high poverty areas. Furthermore, the identification of these top 5 cities with the highest demand for affordable housing and the percentage of households spending over 40 to 50% of their entire income on rent provided valuable information for policymakers as well as stakeholders. Furthermore, it shows that avoiding redevelopment in Southeast DC would be very important as those areas show higher levels of poverty. Overall, despite the limitations of the dataset and analysis, this work can serve as a starting point for further research.